Hi! I'm excited you're here today to chat with me about some of my thinking around growth mindset and fixed mindset. It's come up in a couple of situations lately. There's actually a whole book about it by Carol Dweck. And so it's been making me think about why I have a growth mindset. I know inside of me there's a lot of fixed mindset in me, but I really try to work through it and approach life with a growth mindset. And folks have asked me, how did you develop that? So honestly, my heart always goes back to my mother. There's two stories that usually jump out at me, and I'd like to share them with you. So the first one is, there were always some mindsets or words my mom would never allow me to say. She would say, you can't be bored, you can't call people crazy, you need to be positive, things like that. And one story she would share with me was that when she was in the refugee camps, there were lots of things that were lacking. And she remembered being a young woman, early 20s, really missing some of the comforts of home, some of the foods of home. And then in those moments when she really wanted an ice cream cone, right, there's nothing she could do to get an ice cream cone to a refugee camp. They were just on an island, beachside. It was really rough. And so she told me in those moments that she would imagine an ice cream cone and actually sit in the moment and actually see herself and physically feel as if she was enjoying an ice cream cone. And so that was her story to show me about how powerful mindset can be and how it helped her get through those really tough times. When I was a child, I had no idea why she was telling me stories about making up things that just weren't real. As a child, not getting my ice cream cone just wasn't going to work. And imagining one, that's not going to cut it either. But now as an adult, I can understand that in those really tough times where I feel a little stuck, just thinking about things differently can help you get a little bit unstuck. The other story that comes to mind for me was when I was in 4th grade. Very embarrassing situation happened. But the reason I tell this story is the other thing my mom used to always say was, you have to commit. There are people relying on you. That you can't quit. Once you've committed, you must stick through it and you must persevere. And so in 4th grade, there was a time where I had to practice that. It was the day of the talent show. I got in my costume, I had my little cassette with my music on it, and I went to school excited. My mom was going to come to school and actually watch me perform as well. So I get to school and my 4th grade teacher, she sees my costume and her face just drops. And she said, "Oh, Julie, you weren't selected to be in the talent show this year." And I was shocked. I called my mom, and my mom asked, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "I would like to perform." And so she got on the phone with the teacher, and what they did is they allowed me to perform in the class. But my mother tells me that story as an example of, instead of just breaking down and not performing, I actually held true to my original intent, and that was to perform. And yes, it wasn't to my entire school of 100 students, and I only got to perform for my class of 20. But in that moment, I had a wonderful mother there and a wonderful 4th grade teacher that, because in that moment I didn't give up, they allowed me to have my 5 minutes of fame in my classroom. But those little experiences stories where times just got tough and you find a way to work through it. It might not be exactly what you had imagined, but it was still a learning experience. So I'm very grateful for those two stories and experiences. They're just a couple of many. And I thank you so much to my mother for instilling some of these really healthy, positive values in me and giving me that growth mindset, even though you probably had no idea what growth mindset versus fixed mindset was, right? That vernacular just wasn't in our lives at the time. But certainly, I think it contributed to who I am today. I'd love to hear how your experiences have influenced when you have a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. So reach out, and I look forward to hearing your stories. Thanks.